Internet. This is a bit different. This isn't strictly a podcast or a thing per se. It's just two guys who really want to gush about something that has landed in the last 24 hours, but it feels like it's been in my life forever. Talking about Sonic Mania. My name is Tom Campbell. I'm joined by game developer, a Sonic uber fan like myself, an all-round good egg and drinking partner, Sam Beddoes. Hi, Sam.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm good. Like, people who don't know who you are, let's gush about you for a minute.
Yeah, I do FreakZone games. I'm a game developer. I made most famously the Angry Video Game Nerd game series based on the YouTube channel, which is not really for kids, but it's a sort of old school platform series, and I've just done game development full time since then.
And you're actually living the dream. You're actually living the dream, aren't you?
If the dream involves sort of going to bed at 3 a.m. with your brain full of code, then
what dream isn't that?
Lynch's dream.
When I was growing up, there were three things in my life. There was the desire to do a radio, there was American professional wrestling, and there was Sonic the Hedgehog. And I believe Sonic the Hedgehog has been there the longest. The first time I saw him was playing at my mate Simon Vaughan's house when I was 8 on his new Sega Mega Drive, and he had Sonic the Hedgehog. I was like, this is the best thing. Can you remember the first time you met Sonic the Hedgehog, Sam?
It's one of two things. I can't remember which was first, but one is that a friend of my father, his kid had a Mega Drive with Sonic, and he just kept playing it, and every time I was like, I want to go. And I remember his parents coming in and saying, let Sam have a go. Go on. You go, okay, I'll let him go in a minute after my next, I've done this level. And then he wouldn't. And then all day his parents go, let him have a go. And I never did get to have a go.
Oh.
I remember just watching it with eyes bulging out of my head. The other was that I remember there was a cartoon series came on, I think, Channel 4. And I watched that for a while. And because, I had a Nintendo, not a Super Nintendo, the NES, which the consoles that I tended to have were hand-me-downs from my dad's friends. So it was there was an Acorn Electron, which is basically a ZX Spectrum, but, cheaper. I think in the end, a friend had a Game Gear given to him, and he never used it, so he just let me basically have it for
He probably didn't
months.
have the batteries for it. As we all know, a Game Gear required 76 batteries for 3 hours.
I used to sit in my room with it plugged in most of the time, basically.
Savvy.
Yeah.
Do you like me, if I remember, because we've discussed this in the pub before, it gives you an insight into how brilliant mine and Sam's nights are in the pub. We both collected Sonic the comic, didn't we?
That's right, yeah.
Which was the Fleetway British Sonic the Hedgehog comic book. And I would argue, in terms of if you're going to admire some of the great Sonic the Hedgehog canons of over the last several decades, the Sonic the comic canon, possibly one of my favourites.
Oh, it was so much better than it ever needed to be.
That it deserved to be, I think, is probably the case.
I heard a couple of stories about that from a friend, John Locke, who does Afterlife Inc. and Big Punch magazine, Big Punch comics, famously, what's it called, Extraversal. And he was into Sonic the comic, and I used to talk with him about it in school. I knew the guy from school, and he sort of informed me that a lot of people that worked in that were basically sort of up-and-coming comic guys that wanted to get into Marvel, DC, 2000 AD, and a lot of them do work with them now. Richard Elfson, who used to do the art for the main story, he does art for Thor now, and he's done Spider-Man. And I don't think the writer, Nigel Kitching, who wrote the best arcs, I don't know if he's doing much, but a lot of them wanted to be in the big leagues, and they were given Sonic. And I think they kind of just went, right, well, let's take what we've got and do the best we can. And so it's almost a little bit like they created their own would-be Marvel universe with their, really sort of aspiring storytelling with this little licensed hedgehog, and it came out incredible.
The one sadness I truly have was when that comic went into reprints and then just died. Like a bit of my soul did as well.
Yeah, along with Johnny Lightfoot.
Oh God, they killed a character. That never happens.
Killed a little cute rabbit, man.
Killed the rabbit
with one of those. What the heck was that weapon? He had the thing from the Gladiators. The whole thing looks like a giant Q-tip.
It was one of the weapons of the Dracon Empire. Oh my God, why is that in my brain? I forgot my keys leaving the house today, but I've remembered that the Dracon Empire killed Johnny Lightfoot. Last year, they dropped the bombshell of 2 brand new Sonic games, one of which was Sonic Forces, which we saw first of all, and we went, oh, great, it's a 3D Sonic game, which is in a dark, dingy environment. Well, I'm very mad about that. That'll be lovely. Yeah. And then they dropped the bombshell of Sonic Mania, which kind of appeared a few days afterwards, and it was just the announcement being, we're going to go back to where it started. The trailer promised us a 16-bit Sonic the Hedgehog game, but a new one. And the moment I saw that, I was like, I've quietly been counting the days from the time I first saw that to right now. What was your first instinct when you saw that? Because we both know that Sonic Team have had a bit of a dodgy run, shall we say, of Sonic games.
Inconsistent.
Inconsistent is the nice way of saying it, but what were your first thoughts?
Oh man, so the trailer was, I was watching the trailer and I thought, they're doing another thing. And it was before I even saw the footage. It showed the Sega logo, and then it showed the in association with Christian Whitehead, and that straight away got me because Christian Whitehead is sort of a famous nerd. He kind of when I was getting into game development in sort of the late 90s, I used to try and put together my own Sonic games as like a fan thing. I mean, they were terrible, but they were a thing. And there were websites like Sonic Fan Games HQ for people that were doing that, and there was also Sonic Retro and their forums and things. And a guy on there that was particularly prominent was he called himself Taxman, also known as Christian Whitehead. And he was creating a thing called the Sonic Retro engine, where it was his own Sonic engine made in I think it was programmed in C++, and it would go on the Dreamcast. You could actually burn it to a disk and play it on the Dreamcast. And it was trying to recreate the classic Sonic control and physics and everything as accurately as possible, so that he could make new levels and recreate the old levels and stuff. And a few years back, Nintendo were famously or infamously finding people that were making fan games like Metroid and stuff and just shutting them down. Whereas Sega found Christian Whitehead and the stuff he was doing, or he found them. I think he pitched something to them, and they just hired him. And he created using that old Sonic Retro engine of his, the Sonic CD remake that's on iPhone and PC and PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. He created that himself from scratch as a remake of the original game, rather than doing one of these awkward emulations. And he also went on to do Sonic 1 and 2 in the same way. So I saw the guy's name and I thought, this guy gets it, if you see what I mean. So anyway, saw his name and I was excited before I saw the footage. And as soon as the footage came up, I thought, they finally let this guy make a new game, And
it does have the hallmarks, because I know that I dabbled in, as similar to you. I'm pretty sure that we're the same person, but we've kind of split off in a different dimension somewhere. Because I too dabbled in that whole world, but I was aware there was this burgeoning Sonic fan game community, and you did get these games that came through that just looked like true remakes of classic Sonic games. And one of my first thoughts was, upon seeing this, is like a fan. Sega this year they've really tapped into the weird weird, wonderful emphasis on weird world of Sonic the Hedgehog fans in some of their releases. For example, with Sonic Forces, you can create your own character. And Lord knows, the Sonic the Hedgehog community love a recolor. And they'll be fine with that. They'll have a lovely day. And then this...
there's a drinking game where if you type your name followed by the Hedgehog into Google and in the image search and see what comes up, you know, all the fan characters and things, now we'll see them actually in games.
And what a time to be alive that truly is. Christian Weston Chandler somewhere is giddy about the thought of actually making a Sonic 2 game.
Yes.
It will happen. Midnight last night, the game dropped. I was going to go to bed, and because I bought it, I'd put it in the queue. I thought I'll wake up early in the morning and I'll play it. I just happened to be awake until like 4:45, and I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to stay up another 15 minutes. And I think I must have been literally 1 minute past midnight. I was playing it. And
yeah, so I'm not playing Sonic at 3 a.m. You are.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I put something of that ilk on Twitter. Like, no, stop judging me. I'm an adult. But the moment you start the game and you see that similar setup of the banner and Sonic behind it, and that Sonic E music that isn't the Sonic music, but it is Sonic music. Not the theme, but it's a new one, and it works, and I like it. The moment you see it, you just go, God, why didn't you do this years ago? Why are you only doing this now?
Yeah.
It made me
years ago, it wasn't nostalgia.
That's true. That's true. It was all about putting a gun in Shadow the Hedgehog's hand.
And having him say, "Damn."
But from the moment that you play it, everything about the game feels right. It just feels right. The controls are exactly as you remember it. The first world you play is Green Hill Zone. What a better way to start it than straight into the most iconic game with the most iconic music on the most iconic level. And the thing I love about it is, and this because I mean, spoiler, Sam, you're going to proper judge me because I have no life. Spoiler, I've completed it. Not properly. I've got to go back and get all the emeralds and all that stuff. But I've bombed through it because I was too excited to see what's what.
I haven't quite. I almost have. I'm assuming I almost have. There might be loads more to go. I don't know.
Well, what zone are you at? Just so therefore I can put a peek on my spoilers.
I was going to say, but then people listening, do they not want to be spoiled?
Well, I was going to say, look, spoiler warning at the beginning, because I think it'd be quite nice for us to do a little bit about some of the things that we've seen.
Yeah, or you could do the whole thing mullet style, right? Review at the start, spoilers at the end.
Nice. Let's do that. So we'll review it. You will hear some spoilers nearer the end. We'll signpost them. No, you don't.
Tell you how far I got. It is a retro level, and there is an octopus.
Right. Okay. I know where you are then. That's fine. No spoilers. No spoilers. But
so important, right? The spoilers for the platform game.
It's very important, to be fair.
Tyler Durden was in Sonic's head the whole time.
Your first thoughts when playing it, because you weren't as obsessive as I was. You waited until like a normal human time to play it.
That was only because my fiance was home and wanted the telly.
Ah, that old chestnut.
I got up in the morning and I played it. Then again I did play it all night. Once I was done with work. I mean, I played it in the daytime and then went back to it when I'd done some work. But yeah, my first thoughts. I mean, the thing is, so you're right. Green Hill was the only way to start this sort of celebration of the old series. But I was also part of me a bit like, Green Hill again. I mean, we done Sonic Generations. we did the sort of Green Hill remake in Sonic Lost World, and Sonic 4, that thing, the kind of attempt at what they have achieved this time, did it. And, and it looks like Sonic Forces is going to do it as well. And I was a bit like, again, I mean, there was Emerald Hill and there was Angel Island and other things, but whatever, it's Green Hill. It's the old classic, so I was like, it's the same thing as usual. But these, the animations and the sprite art was absolutely gorgeous and amazing, and kind of blew me away in that sense. But then once you get to sort of Act 2, it's just great how it takes these classic levels but then really changes them up, right? I mean, even more so than Sonic Generations did, which, to those who haven't played it, was a kind of 3D revisiting of classic Sonic levels and stuff, but in the 3D series. But then, that mixed up, but it really changed things up a lot, but in a way that still felt kind of right. It still feels like the kind of thing they would have done in the 90s. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it feels like when I played it, and every zone that you play is the same, whereby you will have the first zone, you will be just lost in nostalgia of like, oh, I remember this, oh, this bit, oh, that's great. And then by the second zone, like you say, it subverts things a little bit. So you go, oh, I remember this bit, you just do this. Oh, no, they changed it. Oh, you buggers. Oh, you've changed that. And a few times when I was playing a level expecting something to happen, and not in a badly programmed way, but in a way of, oh, I know this bit, this is coming up. Oh, no. Oh, they fiddled with it. Oh, I like that. Yeah. I'm glad they did that. And now it's nice. There's a couple of bosses where they're retro bosses, and you think they're going to be one way, and you're ready to fight them one way, and then they're not.
Yeah,
and
they've done something else with it.
Yeah, I love how they do that. I think it keeps the classic fans on their toes, and in a way that doesn't insult them, and it doesn't make you angry. I never, at any point when I played, felt... Oh, there was probably 2 occasions where, and I don't know whether you experienced this, where I got a little bit trapped between the ground and a spring.
I didn't have that happen, but I had a few moments of when the level design gets a little bit convoluted here and there. I mean, not to a point where it's a deal breaker. Maybe just happened to me maybe 3 times in the entire game so far, but. Sonic famously had these like multi-tiered levels with a heck of a lot going on, and all kinds of different routes and stuff, and those are quite hard to make actually. And in this particular game, there's just 1 or 2 moments where I'm a bit like, where am I supposed to go? Because it's bouncing me up in this direction, but there's nothing over here. And there a couple of times that happened, but on repeat playthroughs, these will be things that we know anyway. And I've played the original games so many times that I'm not sure which is muscle memory, and there might be a lot of sections in those games that did that, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So it was, you weren't sure whether or not it was like you say, like it was muscle memory, like you assumed it'd be one way and then it wasn't, but I love that. I absolutely love that. The I don't know, have you had chance in talking of like level layouts and the sort of the multi-tiered aspect of each level? Have you played as each individual character yet? Have you given them all a run out? No,
I'm just doing Sonic and Tails, trying to get to the end.
Yeah, because I can, like, if you play as Knuckles, because I thought, it'll just be what it was before, but what you'll find is, there's no consistency to this, which I really like. Some levels are just as they are, but some levels are completely different.
Yeah,
which I love. Like I love the fact it's that constant subversion. It's almost like Christian Whitehead was going, well, why does it always have to be this one way? Why don't we just sometimes we change it and sometimes we don't? There's aspects of a later level in which in which they subvert the second act completely from the first in one of the remade zones, and it's stuff like that I love. That you can tell Christian Whitehead has poured so much love into this. You can see it.
Let's just make sure it's not just Christian Whitehead here. There are three other people who were famously in the fan community. I don't recall all their names right now, but just credit where credit's due. I think there's about 4 main guys working on this one.
Okay, well, all the guys from there, thank you. for keeping all of our dreams alive once again. Obviously, we've talked about that idea of getting a little bit lost, but is there anything from the game, and I feel like a dick for saying this, because I'd like to say, without a shadow of a doubt, this is the greatest Sonic the Hedgehog game, hands down. Without question, without hyperbole, it's the best Sonic the Hedgehog game ever made, in my opinion. Without a doubt. Just nailed it. But is there anything in it that slightly does your head in?
There's been a few bosses that I've found to be a bit of a mess. Every boss has been a really, really cool design. Not always necessarily, how to put it, very well conveyed. I mean, if we, drop the spoiler bomb in a few, and then I'll go into more detail then. But there's one or two where it's like how to defeat the boss. I mean, once you work it out, it's fine, but it's not very well conveyed. How you're supposed to do it, and there's a few sections where, I mean, I can imagine speedrunners pulling their hair out because it will pay homage to classic games in a way that completely takes you out of the speed of things. I mean, for example, the boss of Green Hill Act 2, the first time you fight Robotnik.
Yes.
Is that the first time you fight him?
It's the first time because the first boss is just those two swinging robots.
Okay, yeah.
You see him in the opening with the hard-boiled heavies. He kind of corrals them and sends them off because this is what I think this is what you mean in terms of that lack of understanding of beating a boss, because they're trying to convey, as the original Sonic games did, they're trying to convey the story but without any dialogue and without any
which is awesome, frankly. But there's the one boss I thought was great. It gave me a little fanboy squee moment, but also it to do this without spoilers, it takes you into a completely different gameplay style. You effectively play a different game from Sonic history for a moment.
I know the one you mean. I've just remembered.
For a second, I was like, awesome, but I was also like, but I want to play Sonic. I don't want to do this right now.
Yeah, it does take it out of you slightly. But I think, do you know what? But I found that it didn't last so long that I got annoyed by the sudden displacement. By the time my giddiness had subsided, I'd nearly finished it. Yeah,
it was a nice little reference, but I actually failed on it once. I just think I was I was in Sonic mode, and so my brain didn't want to switch to this other gameplay style, really, and so I failed once on it. And and the other thing is that one of the reasons I haven't finished it yet is because in these situations where, let's say, I couldn't figure out a couple of the bosses, I would have, say, 3 attempts to do it before game over, and then having to do the whole 2 acts again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a thing that I don't know. I know that game over is kind of a relic, but I also know that a lot of people will just never play the levels again if they don't have that. But it doesn't seem like the game's very generous with extra lives. I mean, I remember always... I got game over a couple of times in the original Sonic and Knuckles and things like that, but I also remember often when I'd get to a point which was pretty hard, I'd often have a stockpile of lives by then, whereas I seem to be somewhere between 2 and 5 lives at any given time now. So there's been a lot of go back 2 levels because you gamed over. It's not a lot, maybe 2 or 3 times, but each time I've gone, I really don't feel like playing those 2 levels I just did over again. And so I've taken a break, and that's probably why I haven't finished it yet. But that may say more about my patience than it does about the game's design, if that makes sense. Yeah,
I felt the same when I've lost to a boss and gone, I've got to go through all that again. And then you're just like, just back through it.
Sometimes you need just that one more attempt. You look at Dark Souls, one of my favorites, and it's the failing and trying again that is how you get better. And in Sonic, there's not exactly Dark Souls, right? It's not that hard, but some of these bosses, there is a bit of I don't want to say trial and error like it's a bad thing, but there's a little bit of learning it by failing at it. But then, by the time I've learned what not to do, I've maybe had 3 attempts, and then it's like, now you've got to do everything again before you can try again and hone your skills. Maybe I should be doing the special stages more. I'm kind of skipping those. Maybe those would have given me more lives. I don't know, but I just know that I would have been happy with maybe more of a stockpile of extra lives.
The special stages don't give you more lives. In fact, one of the special stages is one of my biggest gripes about the game because of all the you've got the special stage where you collect the Chaos Emerald, which is something a bit borrowed from Sonic CD but a bit new. I like that. It's quite quirky. It's quite cute. And then when you hit the posts, it's my least favourite of all the special stages in Sonic history. As soon as that music started, that da 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 da, guess what? You're gonna be shit at this. Da 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 da. I hate it. I hate it. It's the level from it's the special stage from Sonic 3. Spoiler. It's a special stage from Sonic 3. And my heart sank a little bit because it's my least favourite, and I was like, oh god, I guess I have to do these. Yeah,
it's got this whole grid system where you can only turn on a point in the grid, and you can't stop or anything like that. So you're just pressing left, right where you want to turn on points in the grid, and it's. At the time it was cool 3D effects, right? And that was how they achieved it by using this very basic system. But nowadays it's not that impressive, right? We've seen 3D a heck of a lot now, and now it just feels like you're playing old 3D stuff. Do you know what? We're gushing so much here, and we happen to be so euphemistic with spoilers. Shall we just pop the spoiler warning in now?
Okay. The following contains spoilers. If you don't want Sonic Mania spoiled, then you might want to press stop on your cassette now.
Dr. Robotnik is Luke Skywalker's father.
They all die at the end.
Amy's head. Yeah, Amy's head was in the box.
And then she dies at the end as well.
But Knuckles was dead all along.
Knuckles is pink in this. I like that. They've made because there was a common discussion about whether he should be pink or he should be red, because he later went on to become red. But in this, he is pink. And I like it. I mean, cool with it.
On the TV, he was always this sort of pink shade, but I don't know if that was the Mega Drive's limited palette or what. But on some people's tellies, it looked pink, and some people's tellies, he looked red, and on some boxes, he was pink, and some he was red. I have a worrying theory that maybe, Sega of America, it was the 90s, maybe Sega of America, I can't have him pink, I want people to think he's one of those. 90s.
Echidna lives matter. Hashtag pink lives matter.
Visible echidnas.
But it's the whole so now we've got the spoiler bit out of the way. The spoiler warning is done and dusted, right? That some of the bosses that really subvert, that I really like. The Metal Sonic race at Stardust Speedway. Think this is the one. Was this the one that you were banging your head with? Because I was banging my head with this until I figured it out.
No, I figured it out quite quickly.
Oh, get you.
But I do remember with that one going, I can imagine a lot of people are struggling with this one, but I did pick it up. Because he brings out the old Metal Sonic from Sonic 2 on the Game Gear.
Yes, you spotted that as well! Oh, thank you! I'm so pleased! Because I saw that and I was like, I hope Sam knows that is Sonic, the Silver Sonic from the Game Gear / Master System Sonic 2. I was like, oh my god, it totally is!
Yeah, it was the Scrambled Egg boss, wasn't it?
Yes!
Scrambled Egg Zone. And he brings him out, and lots of clones of those. And you have to bounce him upwards when he jumps. You have to knock him into the other Metal Sonic, don't you? And it was quite hard to do, actually.
Oh, it was a massive ball ache, especially with Tails there as well, who's jumping at the same time as you. Just being
when you're trying to bounce him out there, yeah.
And obviously, if you press jumping up, he starts flying. And every so often, we would jump in to try and get this thing. And Tails just started flying, so he started carrying you off. Like, no, stop that! I mean,
I didn't even realise that you could do the flying thing.
Yeah, it's got me out of a couple of awkward situations where you can press up and jump, and then up and jump again, and Tails starts flying.
That's handy.
It's quite cumbersome to do, but eventually you can do it. So Tails grabs you, and then you're then controlling Tails flying you for a couple of seconds.
I literally just thought he was just following me around as a little Sonic 2 reference.
Well, it's that, and in true Sonic Mania style, it is that, but then they've subverted it slightly.
Yeah.
And he can do other stuff.
I kind of don't want to use it now because I've got this far without it.
Well, don't use. Well, then forget I said it. Then forget I said it. Then.
Yeah.
The best description that I can come up with for Sonic Mania is when you're playing it. If you're speed running it, it's like when you first play it. It's like a rock band doing a greatest hits tour.
Yeah.
Because they'll go, right, we've got some new stuff and we've got some stuff you haven't heard in a while and we've got the big songs as well. And it's all in no particular order. So, like you beat Press Garden Zone after fighting the Shinobi Eggman, which took some figuring out.
That was one of the ones that I was having difficulty working out.
Because your instinct isn't to hit a baddie when he's spinning.
Yeah, but you had to hit him from underneath while he was spinning.
It goes against a lot of instincts. But as soon as the level finished, it was it Press Garden Zone? I think it might have been.
Press Garden. That was a gorgeous level.
It was one level when you finished it, and suddenly this airship looms into view, and you jump on it, and then the music from Flying Battery Zone starts, and in my head I was like, yeah, it's that one now, cool. And that was when I went, this is like seeing a rock band do a greatest hits tour, because they're just coming out of the blue, and you're going, oh god, I forgot they did that.
Exactly, you know, you go see Alice Cooper and he's playing God knows what off of his new album, but then he starts doing Schools Out and everybody cheers, you know. And
if
you did it at the start, it wouldn't be anywhere near as exciting.
Exactly, and they just sneak them in, and it's great that they lend from not just from like not just from the regular canon of games, but from Sonic CD. They lend from other formats, Silver Sonic, the Air Bubble. This is really weird I know.
That was Sonic 2 on the Game Gear as well.
Sonic 2 on the Game Gear was the Air Bubble. Knack the Weasel from Sonic Triple Trouble.
I was going to say, I didn't want to spoil, so I put on Twitter, I just said, a terrible tweet, but I said, Sonic Mania's team have a knack for reminding me of old characters. And I said, fangs for the memories, because I believe in some versions they called that character Fang the Sniper.
Yes, Fang the Sniper.
I saw like a picture of him in the background, you know, on a wanted poster, and because crazy at the beginning of that stage, it was Bean, the Dynamite from Dynamite Ducks, shows up and knocks you off your plane with a bomb. He was in Dynamite Ducks. He also had an appearance in the Sonic fighting game that was at Sega World, the old arcade thing. You can now get it on the PS2 on the Sonic Gems collection. I think you can download it on 360 and PS3 actually, but he was in that. And of all characters I expected to see, I didn't expect to see Bean the Duck. But I saw that wanted poster with Knack on it. I thought that should have been Knack. Why is Knack not in this game? And then, well, there you go. There was the guy is like a magician that took the form of Knack and Bean, and then Bark the polar bear as well. It was crazy. One of the most obscure, obtuse references in this game. I don't know whether it passed you by, because it is proper obscure. In the second level, which is the casino level, which the name has fallen straight out of my brain, Studiopolis. Oh yeah. So it's like a film studio.
That's it, Studiopolis. Sorry, it's a film studio. And at one point, you're running on a treadmill, and as you're doing so, you're making popcorn.
Yes.
Right? And the design, this is so fucking weird. Do you remember Sega World in Bournemouth?
I'd never been there, but I remember reading a lot about Sega World. And there was one in London as well, wasn't it? Which became Trocadero.
That was it. And in both of them, you had a Sonic the Hedgehog popcorn maker, which was an arcade game where you played a little game on the screen, where you made Sonic run on a treadmill, and you got real popcorn at the end.
Oh, would you look at that? They've thought of everything.
And to see that, I was like, you canny buggers. That's from Sega World. I mean, it might be a hilarious coincidence, but for me, I was like, no, that ain't good. The popcorn was minging, by the way, but it didn't matter. I just remember the popcorn.
It was made by a hedgehog, man.
I mean, I shouldn't expect so much from a hedgehog making me popcorn. Another issue that I've had with it, and now we're in spoiler mode, is have you had it yet where it pops up that you've unlocked a secret?
I don't think I have.
Because there is some secret moves in the game.
The peel out move from Sonic CD, but I couldn't work out how to use it. Normally, it should be up and an A, as it was in Sonic CD, but it wasn't here, so I don't know.
This is where it's a bit wanky, right? In order to use the super peel out, you go to a no save slot on the select screen. You press triangle, and then it gives you the option to select which Sonic you want, either Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which gives you the half-second shield, or the peel out. So then you can play the game with one of those. But here's the thing. You're playing it in a no-save slot.
And it's like... so you can't beat it by cheating, effectively.
No. And it's like, do I really want to play the whole game through again for the sake of having the peel out, which is lovely to see, but is actually a really dangerous move to use because you just charge and fire ahead and you crash into all the bad guys.
Yeah, it's basically spin attack without the defense, isn't it?
Yeah.
I could have done with, that's one of the things I kept thinking throughout the game, I could have done with the whole Sonic 3 attack. As I say, they call it Insta Shield, where you jump and then you press jump again and he does a little whoosh around himself, which takes out enemies around a slightly larger area than your normal hitbox. There are a bunch of times in this game where I've tried to do that because the enemy's been close enough and I've hit the button and it's not happening, and I've been like, oh man, because I don't know, it's funny because I never sort of instinctively do that when I'm playing, say, Sonic 2, a game that doesn't have it. But I think because this feels a lot like Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, it's I'm sort of instinctively trying to do the whole swish attack thing, and I kind of miss it. And that's a shame that if I want to use it, I can't save. That's a bummer.
Yeah, and that kind of killed it for me a little bit because I thought, well, it's a great thing to have, but it doesn't really do anything.
I don't think it would give you that much of an advantage over the game either.
No, it's just a weird thing to have in there for the sake of not really doing anything with it. But there you go. Yeah. Well, I think we can let it go.
There's just so many things. What I was talking about earlier was both a good and bad thing, where one of the bosses, I think it was actually in Chemical Plant, you landed in this this machine, and then you basically play Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean machine for a while.
Oh yes, sorry, yeah, because we mentioned that, but we didn't actually talk about it, did we?
Yeah. It's like a Tetris-like game called. It was originally called Puyo Puyo in Japan, and they rebranded it to be like a Sonic spin-off here with Dr. Robotnik, and it was a really cool throwback to that, like a great moment. But then I was also like, I want to play Beam Machine. I want to play Sonic.
I bought Sonic. I want to play Sonic now, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, okay, it's not like they haven't done that to us before, where it's like, oh hey, here's a Sonic game that you bought. Now here's a whole bunch of different gameplay you have to do before you can go back to being Sonic. But at least it was just the one thing. But, oh, gosh, yeah, I got to tell you as well, one thing that was really nice was it doesn't just throw back to the old Sonic games. There's a lot of things that I remember from the sort of online Sonic nerd community that get like little sort of references in here too. Example, like you say, there's a bunch of old stages remixed, but there's some new ones. One or two of the new ones reference certain things. Example, the Mirage Saloon, which is the sort of desert world, which is sort of part desert, part saloon. It's a huge reference to an old screenshot. I don't know if this rings any bells with you, but before Sonic 2 released, when they announced it, there was this famously mysterious screenshot.
Yes, I remember this.
Of a desert level that just never existed in the game. And you look at it, it's basically it's a mock-up shot. It's not a screenshot of the game because things aren't quite right, and you can tell it's a sort of concept shot. But it was this desert, and people kind of in the late 90s on the forums, people obsessed over this screenshot. What was it? What did they remove? And people went on these like quests to try and find where it is buried in the game's code, or playing old prototype versions of the game trying to find it. They dubbed it Dust Hill because that just appeared in an old level select. And when you actually play Mirage Saloon, so many of the graphics are basically exact recreations of, or very close to that, which was in that original screenshot. So it's almost as if Christian Whitehead or people, maybe they were in that part of the community trying to work out what this desert screenshot was. But that, it became a strange kind of a sort of big mystery, a conspiracy among Sonic fans, and it got blown way out of proportion for a silly concept screenshot. But it was almost like a big nod to that whole thing in the community.
And in terms of like nods to the daftness of the community, the big unlockable. Have you read on this? What the major unlockable is if you complete all the bonus worlds and get all the tokens?
Oh no.
It unlocks an entire game, apparently. Right? And the game is, and big old, you're in spoiler territory, and the game is, and there is a picture of it, is Knuckles the Echidna in Knuckles and Knuckles 3 with Knuckles.
Oh, yes. That makes me very happy. Of course, if anybody, I imagine it's mostly Sonic nerds listening, right? But anybody that doesn't know, it's like a meme that was created, the fact that you had Sonic 3 and you plugged Sonic and Knuckles into it and make a bigger game, and it called it Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which doesn't really make sense. And you also had Knuckles in Sonic 2 if you plugged Sonic 2 into it, and I think somebody just had the idea of Knuckles in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and then you just added more and more Knuckleses, and it became a meme. And that's awesome that they put it in the game.
So what I can gather from this, as I'm looking it up now, it's completely new, and you can play through several levels as Sonic and Knuckles, Tails and Knuckles, or Knuckles and Knuckles.
I hope this isn't why the game was delayed.
I hope it was, because it's worth the wait, damn it. But the problem is, I think the issue with that is that once a company gets hold of a fandom meme and acts upon it, the joke reaches its full conclusion.
Yeah,
because this is kind of the death knell of the Ann Knuckles joke now.
Well, there's the fine line as well between having a reference to a meme in something and just getting that horrible cringe where you can see these corporations trying to be down with the kids, right? I think in this particular situation, it works because, do you follow the Sonic Hedgehog Twitter account, the official Twitter?
Yeah, they are one for taking the piddle out of themselves quite a lot.
Yeah. They're very sarcastic, also self-referential, very self-aware. And I watched an interview with the guy that runs it, and he said, well, the thing is, Sonic, originally Sonic was about having an attitude, right? They used to always say, the theme song used to say he's got an attitude on the TV show. And Mario was always just this, he's a blue-collar worker, right? He goes to work and he jumps
saves the princesses.
Yeah, and Sonic was always, in the 90s, he had that, he was down with the kids thing. He had the attitude. It's just stuff that's very cringy now. But the point is, he had that, the 90s attitude. And they tried to kind of push that forward. And he started, in some of the newer 3D games, he started to feel like, looking at somebody's dad trying to be cool, and... And the guy that ran the Twitter account, he said, look, Sonic had this kind of sort of rebellious attitude in the 90s. And for a while, they kind of kept the same attitude when it wasn't cool anymore. And he was like, but what's kind of that kind of cocky attitude? What do people who are cocky do now? And they kind of take the mick out of themselves now. And they go on the internet and they kind of subvert things. And I don't want to say troll, but he's basically that Sonic Hedgehog account. It makes fun of itself and it participates in memes and stuff in a way that they think that a modern Sonic would do, that kind of that rebellious sort of cocky attitude. So in a way, Sonic embracing memes in the right way works. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's self-aware, basically. It's aware
he's not
that it's a bit of a parody.
Yeah, he's not going in there and saying, look, minions, and it's not just, hey, here's the meme. It's kind of it's where it's appropriate and where it's funny, and it can work.
There's they retweeted Deus Ex, and it's a shot of Jensen watching the TV, playing Knuckles and Knuckles. Jensen chuckled. It's not quite Knuckles and Knuckles and Knuckles, but it's up there. Happy Sonic Mania launch day. That's lovely. And it's nice to see that the a lot of people from the industry, it's as an old school Sonic fan, it sounds really corny, but nice to see that people remember and are excited about it. Because I see loads of people who are coming out who've worked in video games or whatever, who are just giddy about this new Sonic game.
Yeah, because that's something I kind of wanted to talk about, actually, because it's something that I've noticed. Again, I'm a huge Sonic nerd, but, for a while, the consensus was, hey, Sonic is great, 3D Sonic isn't, right? Or new Sonic games are all terrible and the old ones are great. And I don't entirely agree with that, but it's kind of strange, like, more recently, there's been a whole kick of, oh, Sonic was never good. Like, a lot of people are saying that now. And I think a lot of it started in particular with old Aaron in Game Grumps, Ego Raptor.
Yes, he's not a fan. And you know what? As funny as those videos are, they have done a lot of damage.
Yeah, I can say it's fine. So not everybody has to like all the same things, right? No. Otherwise, the world would be really boring. But I've heard a lot of younger people that come to my gamer nights and stuff like that. I've heard a lot of them kind of, ape that, like parrot that. And a friend of mine said, "Oh, yeah, but it's just you just keep going fast, and then you hit something because you were going too fast." And my response is basically, "Get good." But
that's true, though. Just get better at it. If you crash into stuff, you're not very good at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, it's going really fast. It's like, well, then work on your reflexes, man. And also, I think it's a lot of, use the roll and get used to his attacks. Don't play it like Mario. Just because it's a platformer doesn't mean it's Mario. Use your rolling attacks and things like that and get used to how Sonic works, et cetera, et cetera. But there's been a lot of, Sonic was never cool. The level design was always bad. And I couldn't disagree more with that. There's some incredible stuff in those old games. And this game has proved it. And a lot of people are playing this game and going, wow, this is amazing. I never realized Sonic could be so good. It's like, this is what it was like always, right? And it's certainly had its stumbles over recent years, but Sonic was always this robust and creative and interesting, and a lot of people don't realize that. And I think a lot of it also comes from this Mensky, friend of mine that's got a YouTube channel, and I often talk about, is this revisionist history of video games we have in England, which, if you'll indulge me, it's like we now have nostalgia for things that we didn't have in the past because of American YouTube channels. So, for example, a lot of younger people are super into old Nintendo games, many of which never even got released in the UK or did, and nobody bought them. A lot of the time because of these huge YouTube channels and things that come from America. And that's fine, like whatever. But we are kind of missing a lot of UK game history, of whether those games were made in the UK or from Japan or whatever. But the ones that were big here, a lot of them are being sort of forgotten, and a lot of stuff is falling on Nintendo, who've never done well in the UK. I'm forgetting what my point is. I'm just saying there's this kind of revisionist history of games here, and Sonic in a lot of ways has been kind of erased from how important he is in the history of games, especially outside of America.
Yeah, it was like you say, I think because so much of what he's done, and also through the advent of YouTube and people talking more about the crap, as a society we're more geared to talk about things that are rubbish than things that are great. Yes. Which I think is terrible. I'm a big advocate for the other way around. And but then therefore, because we gravitate more to things that are pretty shocking, that's why games like Sonic, like Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric get more lip service than some of the actual better titles in a series.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's more fun to talk about them.
Yeah, but it's the whole idea that it was never good. That's rubbish.
That is hokum. Absolute hokum.
Hell, I will fight people on whether or not some of the newer games are good. I've had some great times with some of those. Even some of the more clunky ones, they've had this kind of experience in them that you don't get from other games. And so not all. I won't argue that they're a lot worse than the originals, but there are times when these Sonic Adventure games on Dreamcast, for example, they don't stand up very well today. And even at the time, they were pretty awkward. But I don't know. I almost want to compare them to those like a Michael Bay film, right? Where it's like, yeah, sure, I can see that this is awkward, but where else am I going to get to see that? That's
a weirdly perfect analogy.
At 300 miles an hour.
It's a weirdly perfect analogy of but I also remember, and hindsight's always an interesting one to talk about, because I remember when Sonic Adventure came out and I first played it, I was in awe. So I was like, this is Sonic the Hedgehog in 3D. Like, my God, listen to the music. Look how big the level is. Oh, my God. Blew my mind.
I remember whooping out loud at Sonic Adventure 1, just because feeling the sense of speed in 3D. I mean, you played F-Zero, you played racing games, but doing it in a platformer was really exhilarating. And again, even at the time, it was kind of clunky, but there's nowhere else that you could run at 300 miles an hour in a platformer and get that exhilaration.
And Sonic the Hedgehog has always been there doing it, and people that say otherwise are wrong. And as Sam has said, he will fight you.
I will fight you.
I'll fight you.
Of course.
Final thoughts then on Sonic Mania. What do we reckon?
I love it. I don't know if I'm quite where you are on the best Sonic ever part, but I can see myself being swayed by the end of it potentially, or maybe on replays when I know a bit better, right?
Well, I hope you get round to it the same way I do, because I'm still adamant that it's the best Sonic game ever made. And I'm aware that a big part of that is nostalgia, because for me, when I discovered the first Sonic game, I was a young boy and it just blew my mind, and it inspired. It was something that walked beside me forever and still does, and every part of my life. Like, you ask my parents what my favourite computer game was, what my favourite thing was when I was growing up, and it was Sonic the Hedgehog. I had him painted on my wall.
No doubt.
I had every possible Sonic the Hedgehog type thing you could have. I would go on holiday. As long as when we went on holiday, I had drawing paper. I'd draw countless Sonic comics. I can now draw Sonic the Hedgehog without thinking about it. I can do that easier than making some people's tea.
You and me both.
And so I'm very biased. I'm very aware, because for me, playing this is getting that, in this slightly broken down 33-year-old body, it's getting that bit of my childhood back.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not even getting something back, because I never stopped playing the games. But I played Sonic 2 like last week. I mean, I'm constantly playing these games even to this day. But I've never been a fan of the whole, I feel like a kid again. I don't feel like a kid. Kids are rubbish. But but I do agree. I had a time when anytime I had some spare money, I'd try and find something Sonic related. And even after the fact, I remember I bought a Saturn way after, the Dreamcast was out. I was buying a Saturn and playing Sonic R, which isn't even a great game. But I wasn't sure about it first, because the game is so beautiful and timeless, and then those stages are particularly dated, but I think I like that even. But yeah, I did the same. I remember it's like an idiot 17-year-old going on eBay and just buying people's old Sonic McDonald's toys.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. There were some Sonic toys, and I remember having one when I was a kid, and I was like, I don't know whatever happened with it. And I just remember going on eBay and just buying one. And so I don't have that anymore, because I grew up and realized that that was completely stupid. But there was a lot of things that I would just go and try and find Sonic stuff, because Sonic was really out of fashion around sort of early 2000s. And so you couldn't get this stuff so much anymore. I just remember just anytime I'd have a bit of spare money, I'd try and find some old Sonic-related thing on eBay, because I love the character. And as much as it's become a bit of a laughing stock, the fandom, like especially the fans of the sort of post-3D era games and some of the obsessive ones and the weird stuff they draw and the way they act, I'm still a big Sonic nerd. New Sonic, old Sonic, particularly old Sonic. New stuff, I can take or leave a lot of it, but I will still defend a lot of the newer games, but that's for a whole different conversation.
If you haven't played Sonic Mania yet, and you are even in the slightest bit of Sonic fan, then you have to make the very reasonable investment of £15 to do so. 15 quid. Even the price I was happy with.
So if you haven't played it yet and you're anything of a Sonic fan, what's wrong with you?
There is that problem as well. And then let us know what you think of it, because I'm happy to talk about this game probably now until I roll off this mortal coil, because I think it will probably be with me for quite a while. My nothing but thank you to Sam Beddoes for letting me pester him on this day to gush about Sonic Mania. You are so cool, matey. Where can people go and find out all about you?
Right, okay. Come and check out FreakZone Games. Play my games. You can go to freakzonegames.com. That's FreakZone games.com. Go at FreakZone Games on Twitter. Be aware of controversial opinions and some bad language, being that I made the Angry Video Game Nerd Games. That's your warning up front. And just anywhere else, just search FreakZone Games. Come and play my stuff. I think you'll like it. And then give me all your money. Is
there anything coming up from you that we can get excited about?
Many things. Main thing is around October, around Halloween time, expect a free new mobile game called Night Terrors, which is it's kind of a spooky runner game where you play as a like spirit inside of a set of armor. And you just fight off zombies and all kinds of monsters. It's great fun. I'm also working on a game called Spectacular Sparky, which is very Mega Drive inspired. Actually, it's got a lot of Sonic and a lot of Sega Mega Drive in there. And if you get on my Twitter and my website and follow the progress of that.
What's always nice is that because we follow quite similar accounts, and every so often. I tend to, like I said, I tend to forget myself. The only thing I tend to only remember now is that the Dracon Empire killed Johnny Lightfoot. But that's all I remember now. But every so often I'll see there's pictures from the game, from one of your games. It might even be Sparky. It is Sparky. Because I've seen a few pictures floating around of it. Yeah. And I keep thinking, and a few times I've caught myself and gone, oh, that looks mint. I want to play that. Oh, it's Sam's game. Oh, it's Sam's one. Yeah. Which for me is an absolute treat, because I'll see it and go, oh, that's my mate's game. Brilliant.
Again, we got similar tastes, haven't we? So, I'd made a lot of games inspired by old Nintendo games, because I did have a NES when I was a kid. So there's that, there's some nostalgia in that for me, despite me probably being the only person in England that actually has that. So I did a lot of games inspired by NES, and especially being that I did the Angry Video Game Nerd game, it had to be that. But with Sparky, I just really wanted to break out of that, because the Mega Drive was my console, right? That is my old favorite. I've still got a Mega Drive now and a bunch of cartridges. That's my console. And so with Sparky, I'm gonna do it again a whole bunch of times. But Sparky was my first chance to just really bust out of the whole Nintendo thing and do a Mega Drive style game.
Thank you so much for listening. I've been Tom Campbell. Sam Beddoes has been Sam Beddoes. Play Sonic Mania until your legs fall off. You will thank us for it. And Knuckles.